better. Go!
For the Heck family, summer means baseball. And if you're playing on their team, you'd better wear blue.
N-S.
Because whether it's keeping up with the standings of their Jays,
In the wild card, they're only 2 back.
or putting one over the plate, it's a passion. And nothing keeps 6-year-old Roan from getting into the game.
He's a go-getter, that's for sure.
He's got quite an arm, too.
He sure does.
An accident 5 years ago hasn't slowed him down.
At school, he's faster than some of the kids with 2 legs, so he has a lot of heart.
And he's used it as an opportunity to show his allegiance before a trip to Seattle last weekend.
I told him he should maybe get the Blue Jays because we were going down to the game, and he thought that was like the best idea ever.
A 3-game series, one day, stood out.
This is Russell Martin.
They arrived early for autographs. It was first baseman Edwin Encarnacion who came up. He signed Roan's leg. Then the player came back.
Said, "Could I have this for a second, buddy?" And so then he took it down, and Ron was a little nervous.
What was going through your head?
I didn't know if he was going to come back with it.
He returned it, full of signatures.
Then when it came back out, I was really excited.
We are with a very happy Heck family from Stettler, Alberta.
The event was then recapped on the Jays broadcast on Sportsnet. But a week and a number of trades later, there are new players, and Roan is now missing some names.
They're obviously superstar players. I hope they sign his leg because that would mean a lot to my brother.
It was pretty cool.
Not a bad day of baseball, huh?
Nope.
A home run, maybe even a grand slam, for sure. Josh Gernick, CTV News, Stettler. According to the city, one of these trees is worth as much as a used car. Does this look like a $2,800 tree to you?
No, not at all. Look how small this stump is. I can wrap almost 2 of my hands around this.
In late 2014, then 19-year-old Devontae Suchit drove down this road in Twin Brooks when a cat ran across the street.
The right side of my tire had already hopped the curve.
He says he swerved to avoid the animal and hit a 3 to 5 meter tall elm tree, still not replaced.
The front of my car just squeezed all the way in, and the tree was it was bent.
Both were totaled. He didn't get a ticket, but what he did get a year later was a bill for $3,400, most for the cost of the elm.
How can an asset value of a tree be $2,847 and the tree is already growing back?
Devontae's grandmother, Grace Suchit, told the city she doesn't think the bill is fair.
For a tree? No.
The city says what Suchit did is the same as hitting a parked car. He's responsible for the cost. As for the price tag, they say it's based on the type, age, and location of the plant. But no word on whether they'll put in a full-size tree or a small sapling. Off camera, an employee at this hardware store estimates the price of a similar tree at $1,000 at the most, 1/3 the city's estimate. Does this look like it's worth $2,800 to you?
Yeah, well, I'm not an arborist.
City Councilor Michael Walter's office is in contact with the family. He says it's not his decision, but sees their point.
If it's out of line with what it actually costs, then we shouldn't be charging them that much.
$1,000, I'll pay for that. But $3,000 is just too much.
I think it's a ripoff.
For now, the tree is growing back, while the next step lies with the city's legal branch. Josh Gernick, CTV News, Edmonton. Holding hands near the water is now a must for this family. A child in their neighborhood is gone. The parents say they want their 4-year-old son to understand what happened.
They're not afraid of anything. Nothing is dangerous for them. And this is the age they start to be a bit more conscious.
RCMP found a 2-year-old girl drowning in this stormwater pond yesterday. She died on scene. Mounties are still investigating the circumstances. Police say the child was not supervised. This off-duty firefighter tried to save her, performing CPR on the girl.
It's people that you see out playing every day, and you don't think it's going to happen, and then it does.
The father now keeps a lock on his gate.
That is a steep bank.
when the playground was going in, 40 feet from the water. This resident had concerns. Charles Wittenmeyer is also an industrial safety professional. He wanted to see fences built.
And I spoke to one of the workers and I said, hey, just a question, it was after I had worked. I said, I don't see any, holes for a fence. He said, buddy, there's no fence going up.
He says he warned the town that this would never stand on an industrial site. The father of a 4-year-old calls the playground an inviting hazard.
It's definitely something that needs addressed. There needs to be some sort of gate, even if it's just around the park and around the lake. There needs to be some sort of security for sure.
For now, it's about the children, their own, and the one now lost. Josh Koenig, CTV News, Morinville.
Please join me in welcoming Minister Rona Ambrose to the podium.
If you had the time Thursday, you could have seen this 3 times over. 6 figures here.
$250,000 is investing $1.2 million.
7 figures there. A haul of $2 million for the Edmonton area for organizations and shovel-ready projects, all highlighting a common theme.
Government now boasts the strongest rate of employment growth in the G7.
You also realize that it's got a political overtone relative to a federal election, and but that being said, not going to look a gift horse in the mouth.
Just this week, we had 11 federal funding announcements in our area. It's a ramp-up supporting the theory the Conservative government is getting ready to call an election, maybe even by this weekend. But throwing around big numbers with flashy news conferences, does it really work come election time?
I think that city councilors and other people who believe in Santa Claus might be persuaded that this is good news, but on balance, most people are pretty savvy.
Political expert Jim Lightbody says people in Alberta vote Conservative anyway, and though voters may see through it, the Conservatives still get face time.
That's cheap public relations.
But it can also cause friction if a municipality doesn't get needed cash. $2 billion transit announcements were made in other cities last week. Edmonton is still waiting for $133 million in LRT funding. Councillor Andrew Knack wishes the money was handed out as needed, not when an election is imminent.
Sure, you don't get to do any photo ops, but it allows cities to actually address their infrastructure needs.
But in politics, it seems money talks. The question in Alberta is how loud. Josh Koenig, CTV News, Edmonton. The woman who farms this field says 2 weeks ago this was black, barren.
We had only had just over an inch of rain up until 2 weeks ago.
A victim of drought conditions. Most of Carla Ryan's 100 sheep are feeding elsewhere.
Come back.
Fencing off these weeds for grazing.
That has a chance to rest.
Is her last option.
Every day worrying about, what am I going to do for September and October? What are we going to do once we're done the pasture over there?
But on this day, hope.
Overwhelmed?
Came in the form of a flatbed semi.
It's just the stress of worrying about getting hay and how much is it going to cost and how are we going to pay for it and how many years will we be paying for it. That part, it's a huge release to take that.
A little bit of dust coming down that road.
1,200 kilometers and 3 volunteer drivers later. 30 bales of hay from Manitoba arrive here. Everything donated.
But I've just seen, what the news says. And that's what we know, and we knew they needed a hand, so we step up to the plate.
They come from a farm family 2 provinces away who Bryant has never met, linked only by a kinship of the earth. The donation will save this new farmer $6,000. Hay here going for up to 5 times the normal rate. Jurgen Kohler has donated 100 bales in all to farmers in Alberta, feeling it was the right thing to do.
The growing conditions been just fantastic here in Manitoba, so we've decided that we want to support the small family farms in Alberta.
The truck is now off to a delivery in Warburg, another farmer in need. This gives Ryant half of what she needs for winter.
Being able to continue with what my dream is. Agriculture is a passion. Most of us that do it, we're not in it because we make a lot of money at it. We do it because we love it.
And that love is being shared right across the prairies. Josh Koenig, CTV News, Parkland County.
People in here are getting too rowdy, maybe.
Yeah. In the 5 years Kunal Singh has driven a cab,
I had a few bad experiences.
one night sticks out as the worst.
Well, somebody hit me, somebody punched me, so.
The passenger denied it, and Kunal had no evidence but a ripped shirt.
If there was something that I could have recorded, you know, it's on live camera or something, I mean, that guy would have been behind the bars.
Right after it happened, Singh got one of these, an in-cab camera. That was 2.5 years ago. Now, in the next 12 months, the company he drives with will install one in each of its 564 vehicles.
I guess we just finally said, you know, this makes a lot of sense for safety, for accidents, for everything.
Cameras and installation will cost $250,000. It will be the second Edmonton cab company to adopt the technology. In June, Airport Taxi installed cameras in its fleet. The company wouldn't allow us to access the video because of privacy concerns, but this shot from our camera shows what it would look like, a full view of the back cab and a look out the front window. The president of the cab company says the cameras will go in whether customers like it or not.
But if you're going to say privacy concern, go to a Safeway. There must be 50 to 60 cameras in every Safeway. Go to every gas station. There's cameras all over there. So a privacy concern is only an issue if you do something wrong.
You don't know who you carry with you, so it's nice to have it.
It's smart. Yes, it has to be. I'll say in this technology world, we need it.
Technology driving a new age of taxi service for the customer and the driver. Josh Koenig, CTV News, Edmonton.
Traffic was building again today for a while. Josh?
Yeah, Daryl, and they've been stopping at the stop sign behind me. It's kind of lessened right now, but we're going to show you some video that shows how bad it gets. They're all trying to get onto 52nd Ave right over there, actually 51st Ave. This issue has been so divisive, the city says it's now getting verbal abuse from the people around here, while neighbors say they're anticipating a new stream of parents coming through their neighborhood. What you're seeing is traffic on 105th Street north of 51st Ave during rush hour. This is a residential road. Video shot by an area resident.
That's actually getting more and more.
And Kevin Andel says after 12 years living here, this is now his normal. Not able to get out of his driveway, kept awake at night with the noise.
It is that out of hand.
This despite the city putting up signs recently to deter drivers.
People weren't obeying the signs initially, and now that they've put up signs and that, well, I'd like to see the change.
Andel says it's worse than ever.
They've moved the problem from 106 now onto this street.
When coming up 106, you see it, a barrier forcing you to turn left. In July, the city closed off southbound traffic on 106th Street for 3 blocks to calm the road. Neighbors say that's only forced commuters to cross 56th Ave to 105 Street, creating big backups as they get to the main road. And with a school right before the detour,
I don't know.
It's up in the air how bad it will get when parents run into the traffic jam starting Tuesday.
Yeah, I think we're all worried probably. It definitely affects like stress levels, just noise.
The outrage a block over is so bad, City Council says city workers and volunteers are now getting calls at home.
Doesn't get very far with me, and it's certainly not the most productive way to solve the problem.
While over on 106th Street, for some, the problem is fixed.
You know, I feel for them, but we've had it forever, you know, and now they're just getting a little taste of what we had, I guess.
Daryl, the city says it has tried to fix the traffic problem on 106th Street for decades now. This is just the latest experiment, and when they started doing this plan, they say they did have community support, especially when the traffic was reaching 10,000 vehicles a day on that stretch of road. Daryl.
Okay, in the meantime, I understand the city is collecting data on the traffic right now, so what is the next step, Josh?
Well, Daryl, a forum is planned for early fall where they will go and give the data that they collected and take in community their feelings on this and some advice. But they do say that if the evidence isn't strong enough to stop the project, this could go on for another 2 years, Daryl.
All right, Josh Kern.
If you've ever worked in the service industry,
You'll have another one? Perfect.
you know it can be a tough gig.
Can be really exhausting, especially in this weather. It's hot, you're running around.
And living on tips,
I take it personally.
not always easy.
You just kind of gotta grin and eat it. It's one of those things where it happens sometimes, people won't tip you at all.
But once in a while, you can get the payout of a lifetime.
Then I looked and I was like, this is insanity.
Celeste Bouchard was working the bar around 1 a.m. Thursday at Hudson's on White. A patron said he was impressed with the service. He asked for the debit machine.
He did it himself, typed in $1,000, handed it back to me, and I was just like, what?
$1,000, pure gratuity.
That takes care of your rent, that takes care of a lot of bills.
I'm sure people, jaw hits the floor. Hasn't happened to me.
A lucky night
Oh yeah, I'm like so in debt.
for a cash-crunched nursing student. But with the big payouts, sometimes you want to just pay it forward.
We were just like, well, we're not gonna split that between us because that's so selfish.
They thought about spreading it among the staff, but chose a different direction.
He's like, well, I'm gonna donate my portion, and I was like, let's donate it all.
The pair gave $1,004 to the Stollery Children's Hospital the next day. Every cent of the big tip.
That's amazing. It's something that I can't say that I've ever done because I've never received something like that.
People are so generous all the time in the service industry, in Canada, everywhere. You don't have to tip anybody, you choose to.
It's one thing to get the tip of a lifetime, another to help the life of someone else. Josh Grunick, CTV News, Edmonton. When Kelly Jerome walked out Monday morning, what is this? She wasn't mistaken.
This is what we found, sitting by our fence.
It had spots, stains, whatever that is.
You don't know if that's blood.
This time of year it happens. People cleaning up put their trash down where it's not supposed to go.
It's been happening all over from what I understand, but I mean that's pretty bad that somebody's dumping couches.
Trash is everywhere. Here in the Mill Creek Ravine, you can find everything from trash bags to newspapers. But the city says this season is no worse than usual.
Towards the end of every month when people are moving, or in the spring when people are doing a lot of spring cleanout, dumping can be an issue.
But for Kelly, it's an eyesore and won't go away. She says she called the city, but because it's on her property between the fence and the alley,
This one is my problem. That's what they told me.
she has to move it herself and pay the fees.
Because I'm one person. How am I going to move? I can't even move my own furniture. How am I going to move somebody else's? I'm so mad.
Waste Management says they have eco stations where you can drop off junk for a small fee, free dump days in the spring. But getting it there is on you, and with no evidence of the culprit, they say they're stuck.
Tell us what was dumped, where it was dumped, and then obviously descriptors of the vehicle such as license plate, make, model, color, and then a descriptor of the individual.
That white fence down there, it's right on the corner.
Even Kelly's neighbors have a headache. Another couch.
Obviously, I'm going to have to clean it up, or one of the neighbors here is going to have to clean it up sooner or later.
Is that fair?
No, it's not.
If you want a free couch, you know where to find one. Joshua Skurnick, CTV News, Edmonton.
Lovely.
On a beautiful day, a ride around town.
Want to go shopping or something? I just go.
Isn't bad in your retirement years, but lately Rob Wells hasn't been the only passenger.
The thumbs up.
He carries a pretty strong opinion, one he's now fighting for.
And puts his lights on, pulls me over, and says, "What's up with the sign?" I said, "There's an election on."
You might have seen him around town, four-door Saturn with this pink sign in the back.
Because there's no other word that conveys the same sense of disgust and emotional contempt for the Prime Minister that I want to express.
But when he got pulled over 2 days ago by Ponoka RCMP, they had a message for him. The officer gave him a $540 ticket.
Silly.
On whose part?
On the officer's part.
Criminal Trial Lawyers Association President Kelly Dawson says this charge probably won't make it to court, that prosecutors will simply throw it out. Dawson says similar cases involved freedom of expression and did not create a distraction on the roadway.
I've not found one case where it's been found, like not one case in this century, or even the 50 years prior to this century, where someone has been convicted.
So this was your story?
This was my story, yeah.
This isn't the first time Wells has created news because of his car. Premier Ralph Klein made an obscene gesture to reporters when asked about a picture Wells had. That was in 2000. Following that, the Edmonton Police Deputy Chief gave a directive to officers to leave Wells alone. Mounties eventually agreed, until now.
This is what democracy looks like. This is what a police state looks like.
RCMP say they are still looking into the matter and would not go on camera. As for Wells, he says he's looking forward to court.
You know, we just have to keep working to make things better.
He calls it a good use of his retirement. Josh Gernick, CTV News, Edmonton.